Well, congrats to Houston. I mean, obviously they're a fantastic team and a team that can win it all. Really well coached, very disciplined, very tough-minded, a lot of continuity from last year. We played these guys last year as well. Milos Uzan, I thought had a really, really good game. It's a kid that we recruited and made an official visit. But he's just settling in. You watch a lot of film on these guys, and he's figuring things out for their system and the way they want to play. And they put a lot of pressure on you. They make you pay for mistakes on both ends of the floor. And certainly tonight, when you play Houston, it's very easy to say this. It can be very difficult to do. You have to eliminate losing to win. And we had 4 keys. Rebound, take care of the ball. Rebound, take care of the ball. We should have made that about 20 keys and been the same 2 things over and over. And you just do. I mean, you have to match their physicality on the glass. And you know what? For the most part, we did that. I mean, at the end of the day, we out-rebounded them. We had 15 offensive boards. They had 15 offensive boards. But when you have 26 turnovers, that's going to be really, really, really difficult to overcome against a team like this. And then especially on their home floor. I mean, they have the nation's longest winning streak for a reason. And so they're awfully good. You got to beat them to beat them. And that's hard to do. Calvin's a great guy, great coach. And they got a real chance. You look at their games where they lost. They were early, where they were still trying to figure out the point guards, losing Sheed. Is that right? But a 2-point loss to Auburn, 2 or 3, overtime loss by 5 to Alabama, and overtime loss by 3 to San Diego State. So, you know what I mean? I mean, their total margin of defeat is 11 points against really good teams, 2 top 5 teams. So they're very, very good. We got to get better. We got to get better. You got to be able to play with that kind of intensity, that kind of physicality. We've been doing that the last 3 games where we won 3 in a row. But this is big boy basketball, and we didn't get to that point tonight.
Craig, on their defense, what is their length down low with Francis, Roberts, and Tugler do to kind of maybe elevate them that much more?
Yeah, I mean, so listen, when I was at South Dakota, I was a head coach of South Dakota. We played them in Florida. When I was at Utah State my first year, we played them here. We were up 10 at halftime, ended up losing by 10. And then, of course, we played them last year, and we were down 14 with 15 minutes to go. We tied it up with 6 minutes to go. So, as a head coach, I have a feel for these guys, but it's hard to always translate that through film to your players, right? And so they are so I always say basketball is a game of decisions and multiple efforts. So when you play these guys, you have to have elite multiple efforts, and they play with multiple efforts all the time in everything they do, right? Whether it's boxing out, going to the glass, getting in the gap, active hands, active feet, flying around, first on the floor. And then, they're just so quick to the ball. They're twitchy, right? They're sudden. Like in football, they would say that they're twitchy and they have suddenness, and you're just boom, right? And you get a little bit of shock and awe where it's like, oh, and so if you don't have poise and composure, we do a drill called 4-4-4. You hold it for 4 seconds, dribble for 4, hold it for 4. So you got to build a clock in your head. Like, you got 4 seconds to make a decision, but they make the game so frantic, it's easy to get frantic and to lose your poise, right? It's easy to kind of lose your poise. And then when we did, Lawson Lovering's had a great year for us, guy. He's been really, really good for us. For a 7-1 guy, he's a great decision maker, really poised and tough. And we hit him a few times tonight, and they were able to kind of get there and just speed him up. So that tells you how good they are, because that just doesn't happen with him very often. And then we got on our heels, and you just no time to get on your heels against these guys, because they just, right, boom, 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 and make you pay. So, at the end of the day, 26 turnovers to 7 assists. I think we're number 1 or number 2 in the country in assists coming into tonight. So that says something to them, about them. 5 for 12 from the free throw line. You got to be able to, make some free throws that way. But at the end of the day, 29-2 off turnovers and 28-14 in the paint. It's going to be really difficult to overcome.
I think they were credited with 19 steals. I mean,
yeah.
The disruption, is that hard to simulate in practice, and how do you sort of?
Incredibly hard to simulate. You can try. We're not built like that, right? Like we got to play different types of style of basketball. So we didn't coming into this game, but like I said in our the University of Utah the radio show, the pregame show, so to speak, and I said it to the TV people, like it's going to feel like there's 7 guys out there. When you're on offense, it's going to feel like there's like 6 or 7 guys out there. So it's very difficult to replicate. But at the end of the day, we played Baylor, played Iowa State. Both are a little bit different in Houston, but, Iowa State probably a little more similar in some respects. But we turned it over against those guys, and that was, it was the same kind of blueprint to defeat, I guess you could say. And when we take care of the ball, we do some good things.
Coach, you
Yeah.
talk about like some of the miscues. Let's talk about some of the positives. Keanu Dawes, hometown kid, came in, did a little bit.
Yeah.
Can you talk about some of the positive things?
Yeah, positives for us. There's always give and take, right? And you do always got to look for the silver lining. You can learn from this, and you can grow from this, and keep pushing. And this Big 12, in the Big 12, we're new to the Big 12. We were picked at the bottom, and so we're working the climb, and you got to be able to adapt and adjust. Game 7 for us, like you have to learn and then grow and move on quickly. But I thought at the end of the day, getting 15 offensive boards on these guys, that's hard to do. I thought the last 10 or 12 minutes we were a lot better. Now some of that is they didn't play their top guys, so to speak. I thought KD played really, really well. I'm proud of him. Keanu is a great story. Born and raised in Utah for a while, right? And moved to Houston as I think a 6th or 7th grader, and played high school here. Went to Rice last year, obviously. But he just does some things really, really well and has great feel. And you could feel him out there tonight in a very positive fashion. Stuck the 3 early, but more than that, I thought he defended really well and was able to, you feel him when he goes and gets a rebound, and so he brings a different dimension to our team. Him and Jake Wallin have a kind of a good synergy, and both are 6'9", 6'10" at the 3 and the 4. Those are the primary things. I thought our guys stayed with it. It tests your will, right? It can test your willpower when you come on here and you get a little bit embarrassed, right? But you got to fight. I mean, you got to be able to fight and compete and have a competitive greatness, and because you can't run and hide. And so some guys did some good things. I thought Zach Keller did some good things off the bench. I thought Mason Madsen did some good things off the bench. But at the end of the day, those turnovers, and then especially in the first half, some of those offense rebounds, it just was difficult to overcome. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.